Well, hello, welcome again to a read through of the Homeric Hymn to Apollo, and I got up to line 61. So, the story so far, Leto's been travelling around to try and find an island that would receive the birth of Apollo, and she settles on the island of Delos and tells Delos, well, you haven't really got much going for you in terms of the arable land. But if Apollo is born here, then many people will come, they'll bring hecatombs, and your inhabitants will be looked after. And so, hos phato, good Homeric expression, thus she spoke, and Delos Kyre rejoiced. And then Delos is regarded as feminine, and hence we get a feminine participle. So Delos replying then spoke, perhaps addressed her. Leto kudiste thugate megalo koioio. Now this is the vocative form of Leto. Kudiste, well, it's most august, something like that. Daughter of great Koios. Now we read in Theogony 404 to 8, Leto is described as the daughter of the Titan Koios, and that must be the reference here. Aspasie ken ego. So I would, in the optative on the next line from decimi with ken, I would in fact, don't forget the particles, I would in fact receive aspasii, happily rejoicing. I would happily receive, in fact, the go'ain, perhaps the birth of far-shooting Lord, that's Apollo. And we get this funny line here, Ainos ga etetumon amidus ekes andarasin. So it's slightly awkward here. The ainos is an adverb. One way of doing it is to put in the verb esti. So it is true, for it is true that I am terribly dus aces, something like ill reputed by men. In other words, for it is true that I'm held in ill repute by men. Dus ekes is used in Homer of death and war. It's got the sense of they don't like the sound of it. The dus ekes. So something like, if it is true I'm held in ill report by men. Hodi, and in this way, that is, if I had Apollo born here, I would become, with the ke, another optative, peritimaesa, very honoured. I would be held in great honour. Allah, there's always a but. Allah todi tromio letoi epos, udisecuso. But, letoi, this is again vocative, I tremble at, uncontracted, I tremble at this word, nor will I hide it from you, from Kutho. Leon gatina fasin, tastalon, Apollona essestai. For they say that Apollo is essestai, future infinitive, is about to be. Now this word here means something like reckless. It's a Homeric word, reckless, presumptuous, in the leon exceedingly, and the tina goes with the atastalon. So a certain reckless person. So for they say that Apollo will be a certain exceedingly reckless or presumptuous one. mega de pruteneusemen. Now this is a future infinitive. It's at Homeric Hymn, and it's a future infinitive. And again, it's all after this Farsi here. So they say that he will lord it greatly, mega is adverbial here, I think, over the immortals. This verb, pruteneuo, it's a post-Homeric word. Some think it may be a borrowing from Asia Minor. It's common enough in the time of Pindar and Aeschylus. So, for they say that he will lord it greatly over the immortals, and upon the life-giving, the tse doron, aruran is the pastured fields, it's the cultivated land for mortals, literally. So for mortal men. So he will lord it over both the immortals and upon the life-giving cultivated land for mortal men. To, I think here is that Homeric for this reason or therefore. Dedoika, normally dedoika, possibly lengthened for the sake of meter. I fear terribly. Well, then the ra is accordingly again when he goes with the to. For this reason, then, I fear terribly in my mind and in my thumos, in my heart, perhaps. I fear lest that whenever, to proton adverbial is often in Greek, whenever at first, ide, subjunctive from horao, he might see the light of the sun, that when he first sees the light of the sun, having shown dishonour to the island, to this island, that is to Delos, since indeed, I think here, I am kran aepedos. It's a funny word, it only occurs here. The meaning's fairly clear. It means with hard, rocky soil. So, having done all that, katastrepsas from katastrepho. The exact meaning here is not exactly clear. It possibly overturning. It often has the sense of trampling upon, but I think here overturning it with his feet. He might push it. This is a subjunctive from otho. You get otheo in later Greek, I think also, but otho, he might push it literally into the open sea of the sea. So dative plural here, into the open seas of the sea, literally. So we would just translate into the open sea or into the depths of the sea might be good here. The point being here is that in later legends, Delos was a floating island. It wasn't actually fixed. Its position was fixed later after the birth of Apollo. And so the island here thinks, well, he's going to give it a good kick and send me floating around in places I don't want to be. Enth eme men megakuma, and there, now the subject here is megakuma, a great wave, kluso, will flood from kludzo, will wash over me, over my head, I think, katakratos. Halis, something like continually in abundance. So there a great wave will wash over my head, continually in abundance. And he, or but he, affixatai, future from affikneamai, so he will go to another island, which might be pleasing to him. It's almost where we would say it might be pleasing to him, but the Greek just has which might be pleasing to him. We've come across that in the previous section. I explained it's from the root had, from handano, it might be pleasing to him, Teuxasthai from Teuco, to make or build a naion, a temple, and woody groves. Alcia dendre enter. Polupotes den emoi thalamas vokai te melinai. So polypodes, well, possibly here octopuses. They're things with many feet. Now on the next page, unfortunately, the main verb is poi a sontai, they will make, which really is the verb goes with, has this as its subject, but I think you've got to take that with both parts here. So the octopuses, or the polypus, the polypodes, will make thalamas, normally a sort of an upper room, but probably here a lair, will make their lairs in me, and the black foci, these are the seals, and now we have the main verb up here, it's oikia poiesontai, will make the Arcadia goes with the oikia. It means without cares, so will make their houses without cares. In other words, they won't worry. And why won't they worry? Because of te, dative, by lack of people. This is a funny form. It does turn up in Homer, not that often, but it means by lack of. Generally only appears in this dative form, so by lack of people. In other words, there'll be nobody on my island, and so these sea animals will do whatever they like. They will be Arcadia, they'll be without care. Or cares, plural, let's use plural, of course. And so it's agreeing, this is oikion, they will make their oikion, oikia, their houses, without care because of the lack of people. Al amoi telaies gethia megan hokan omosai. But if you might dare, O goddess, in fact, to swear to me the great oath, this is the great oath of the gods, that, and then we have a future infinitive again from Teuco, that first of all he will, him will make first of all a very beautiful temple here. Eminai, infinitive from the verb to be. So to be a crasterion, a place of oracles, so just an oracle of men. Now there's a problem here, you see there's a gap in the text here. There's been a lacuna, has been postulated after this line. Richardson in his commentary says such an assumption is not necessary, and so you can just read on, but then understand it will be for all men. In other words, initially this crasterion will only be here, but then later on it will be upon all men. That's possible. Allen, in his older commentary, suggested something to the effect of he may build many temples among all men, has dropped out. Anyway, you can look at the commentaries on that just to do it literally. So there would be an oracle for men, and then afterwards for all men. It is awkward in any case. There's something that's not quite right here. Epe a poluonymos esti, since a again is that indeed, in fact, he will be he will be much named, so he'll be very famous. So since indeed he will be much named, I presume that's referring to Apollo. Hos are I should comment here that there's no archaeological and very little reference for an oracle, this funny word here, in Delos. If there were such a thing, it must have been fairly small and local. On the other hand, it would seem strange that the first temple of Apollo, god of prophecy, was not in some respects oracular. Anyway, so it's hos RFA, and thus, well, it's really she spoke, it's the island of Delos spoke. And Leto swore the great oath of the gods. This is mentioned in Homer as well. Isto is an imperative from oida. It's a third person singular. So let Gaia, let the earth and the broad heaven above now know these things, and also the water of the Styx, this is a genitive here, the one which drips down, which is, or what is, the greatest and most terrible oath for the blessed gods. Now the Pele is from Pello, it's a funny word, it's often used just like the verb to be. So let then the earth and the broad heaven above, let them know, and the water of the Styx which drips down, let them know these things. So in other words, they're swearing by these things, which is the greatest and most terrible oath for the blessed gods. And then amen is you use after an oath. So let them know these things, that there will be always an altar, a bomos and a temenos, and a sacred place, and the altar is theoudes, so a fragrant altar and a holy place of Phoebus, Tadi, in here. And he will honour, from Tio, he will honour you beyond all others, more than all others. And that is the next part of the hymn.